Hi, and welcome to The Curling Show, the podcast that brings you interviews with the sport's top athletes and the people who shape the game, supported by listeners like Ben Tucker, who have made secure donations at thecurlingshow.com. I'm Dean Gemmel, and in this edition, we talk to a player from the team that just showed us that 3 years of chasing CTRS points can come down to one game, one end, and one shot. His team just won the 2009 Grey Power Players Championship and a direct entry into the Tim Horton Roar of the Rings next December. Scott Pfeifer, welcome back to The Curling Show.
Thank you very much, Dean. Glad to be on.
Hey, I'm not going to ask you how it feels because I'm going to guess that would be great, but you, as much as anyone, knew the whole CTRS points process, the trials process, the whole way through. If you're really brutally honest, were there times during this last year and a half when you felt like maybe your team just wasn't going to get it done and not get one of those 4 direct entries?
Oh, yeah, I think there was lots of times when we were thinking that. And, you know, even after last year, you look, Cooey had kind of gained about 50 points on us on the 3-year spot. 2 of the spots were already gone with Howard and Martin, and all of a sudden we're 40 points behind Burtnick. And not only did we have to pass Burtnick, but we had to pass Madaw and Stoughton. So we tried to get off to a good start this year and qualified in a lot of events, but just couldn't finish it off until the end.
And you played a lot of events this year. I mean, you played, 10 weeks in a row at one point, right?
Yeah, I think Randy and Marcel played 13 in a row before Christmas. I missed 1, and I think Dave missed 2. And it was all kind of one of those things where we were trying to get CTRS points. We were trying to get Alberta Curling Tour points so that we wouldn't have to bypass one of the Grand Slams.
Oh, that's right. For your own team, you would have had to play down to get into your provincials, right?
Yeah, so it was kind of one of those ones where we were forced to do a bit more curling than we probably would have liked. And, you know what, looking back on it now, I'm glad we took the route we did.
You know, the trial spot wasn't all the win was worth, and I wish someone on the CBC production crew had given the excellent Bruce Rainey this laundry list. It was $15,000 for switching your third place for second place with Kevin Martin in the Capital One Cup. You got $9,000 more for winning, and you got a spot in next year's Masters of Curling at the Hershey Center in Mississauga. Have you ever felt like you've had that much riding on, one end, one shot like it was?
Well, obviously the biggest carrot was the trial spot, and that's something that we kind of 3 years ago sat down after the last time we won the Players' Championship and said, okay, let's go full out. We know what the system is and how difficult it was going to be to get one of those 4 spots. But we were fully aware of all the different perks. There's different tiers of funding for some teams that get buys into the trials versus others. So, it was a great list. The last time I can think of a shot that probably meant as much was at the Continental Cup when Dave was throwing a shot for $75,000, and he had 24 people on your side hoping that you'd make the shot. That was probably about the same ballpark as the shot last night.
Oh, the Continental Cup. You can't feel the pressure of the Continental Cup. Although I know that was worth a lot of money. But you know how much I love the Continental Cup.
Oh, I know. No, actually, it's one of those.
That was big, though, because you had the rest of your teammates sitting there needing
exactly.
that shot.
It wasn't just the 4 of you needing you to make that shot. Like, at least when you're on the ice, you control it, but when you're sitting on the bench waiting for someone else, and we kind of felt that this week in the fact that we needed help from either Madar or Cooey not qualifying in order to even have a chance at getting our trial spot.
Hey, I almost forgot, too, there is a difference in Sport Canada funding, I guess, if you're one of those 4 teams as well, isn't there?
We're not exactly sure how much right now, but they definitely, make sure that the 4 teams that have buys into the trial are well taken care of. And it's pretty tough with a lot of Olympic sports right now. They're whittling it down to like 5 or 7 people. And if you really look at it, there's probably over 100 curlers right now in Canada that have a chance to still make the Olympics in curling.
Talking about other sports, I think curling should be an example for other sports in the way Canada and even here in the United States to select the teams by forcing people to win. But there are always a few people claiming that especially after Scotland's success, where David Murdoch is basically picked to be the representative, that people should do that. What do you say to those people?
It's different strokes for different folks. I mean, the way they did it here in Canada is a very fair and equitable process. Probably a little more complicated and I guess, drawn out than it probably needs to be. But it works for Great Britain. They got they're taking a team, letting them play together for 2 years, and obviously they're seeing great results there. And I'm sure Dave Murdoch will be one of the medal favorites going into the Vancouver Olympics.
Different scenario, too. I mean, they have far fewer curlers to actually select from. So,
yeah.
And clearly David's, David for sure has got to be on the team, I guess. But
I
don't know. I think we lose something as curlers everywhere, though, if we lose the notion that you have to win to represent. I think it's almost unique to curling now, and I don't think we should get away from it.
Yeah, but I mean, every guy on that team has at some point won either a world championship or done well, or else they wouldn't be there. So
that's true, and I don't mean to criticize Scotland or Dave. I don't mean to do that, but
I'm happy with the way Canada does it.
Well, actually, I should say I'll criticize Scotland, but not David Murdoch.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? You are talking about the process, though. Don't you think that maybe the way there was a lot of complaining about it throughout the year? Even Randy voiced some criticism, I guess, this year. But don't you think the way it all ended up with all coming down to one shot, one end, one game, that it almost validated the whole thing?
Oh yeah, we planned it that way.
Yeah. I know nobody could, but boy, it was exciting.
Like if Howard and Martin and Cooey would have really thought about it, that's the best way to win is take it to a nail biter till the end and not really know if you're going to get in, because that way you appreciate it a bit more maybe.
Oh, is that it?
No, I'm just being a little facetious.
Yeah.
But, no, it was great for the fans, and it's one of those things where we were going into the last event. We knew what we needed to do, and we needed a little help along the way. And I could tell you by the route, just talking to the guys, like 3 or 4 of us didn't get to sleep till 3 or 4 in the morning. We're so wired and happy. It was probably the happiest our team's been since, I'd say, winning the Brier or Victoria at the Worlds in 2005.
Hey, you talked about playing a lot this year, and then though you didn't win your provincial, so you didn't play in the Brier. You did play in the Canada Cup, but did maybe not getting to the Brier even help you this past weekend? Maybe keep you from being a little crispy this time of year?
Well, yeah, but you get to the Brier and you get more points, and it probably would have taken a lot more pressure off of us at the end. But in the same token, not being at the Brier and having that extra time to refresh, not being at the World Championships, it gives you that extra little jump at those last events. And you could see it in Martin, you could see it in us after the Victoria Worlds in 2005. That the body only can take you so far, and after a while, your mind gets a little slower, and you're waiting for the end of the season to get there for sure.
Your team over the last 3 years maybe has had some troubles beating Kevin Martin. You lost 3 times at the provincials this year, but you also took a lot of money away from him this year at the TSN Casino Rama Skins game this past weekend, and you won against Kevin in the 1-1 game at the Canada Cup. So I guess as a net from this season, you take away a little more positive about how you feel against playing against Kevin?
You know what? It was one of those things where they had our number for like 10 or 11 straight, and it was one of those ones where we were sitting down and saying, like, what do we need to do to beat these guys? And most of the time it was just us giving up a big end because we weren't executing properly. And I honestly think it was just one of those things where we just had to win one game against them to let us know that we could still do it, and we get that confidence back and start making more of our shots. And I think that's exactly what happened. Like, we played them in the 1-2 game of the Canada Cup, beat them there pretty handily. In the final, took a big end, and you know what? Unfortunately, we lost that game. And but you know what? It certainly gave us the confidence going into this event when we played them in the A qualifier and in the semifinal that we were capable of beating them if we played our best game.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because you won at TSN Casino Rama Skins, and you lost in the provincials. And after that, Randy almost seemed to be like he didn't have answers against Kevin, and then you guys came out and beat him in the Canada Cup.
Yeah, you know what? Even at provincials, our games were really close against them. In the 8th end of the first one, we were tied up and drawing against 2, and our rock picked. So all of a sudden, you're down 2 against Kevin. In the next game, we had a tough shot. Same kind of situation. Like we were controlling a lot of the games, except for the final. They whipped us pretty good. So it wasn't like they were just coming out and dominating us. So it's not like we knew we couldn't beat them. You know what? A lot of people are making a big factor of that we haven't been to the Brier for the last few years, but you got the number 1 or 1A team in the world playing in your same province. And when they're firing on all cylinders, they're very difficult to beat. we said after this year, like, we played well enough that if we were in probably any other province except maybe Ontario playing Howard, that we would have had just as good a chance as anyone.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, three of the four direct entries are from your city, but it's interesting. We did touch on the trials process a bit already and some of the problems, but at the end, I think on the men's side, the four men's teams that over the last 3 years deserve to be there got there.
I don't want to say that's the general consensus, but I think Cooey had a fabulous year last year, and I think
we had a fabulous 2 years. He had 2 good years. I mean, this year not so much, but he had 2 really good years.
Yeah, but I think it was last year that really held him ahead of everyone in the he beat us by 100 points last year in the CTRS rankings, and at the time we were up 50 points on him. So coming into this year, we had a 50-point deficit. So, but you know what? It came down to the wire. We had 345 points in the 2-year CTRS. I think Madaw had 343.5, and Stoughton was like 1 point behind that. So it's kind of a toss-up between the last 3 or 4 teams, and I think that's maybe something that the CCA needs to look at the next go-around. Is I think 4 teams is too little to have qualifying out of 3 years. You could easily make it 6 or 7 teams and still have a last chance playoff a couple of weeks before the Olympic trials, which would still make it an inclusive process for everyone going into next year.
That might be some good thinking there, actually. One other thing that's interesting, though, is that the 4 teams that qualified are 4 teams that have had no lineup changes in the last 3 years.
Yeah, well, obviously, when you're successful as Martin and Howard have been, there's no reason to change your lineups that way. Obviously, our team's been together for so long, there wasn't even a thought of making a lineup change. We knew the magic was there, we just had to find it. And even like Cooey's team, they're a great team, and they're still qualifying in a ton of events. And, they tried to make changes internally where Kevin Cooey's been skipping the last 3 or 4, and they're just kind of looking for that extra little spark going into next year.
Yeah, what do you make of that change?
You know what, it's one of those things where I think as a skip, if you lose confidence, sometimes it's good. You look at John Morris, like he just loves playing third now, being able to sweep and still have some control in the house, but not being relied on the entire time. So Kevin Cooey's thrown skits rocks for a long time. So I honestly, I think on that team it's a toss-up. Who's playing third and who's playing skip? They're both really good.
Yeah, I think it's different than with your setup, where it's pretty clear that Dave should throw the brick and Randy is more comfortable not.
Yeah, that's the thing about our team is might not be all the best players, but I think where we're slotted and where we fit on our team, we form one of the best teams.
Hey, speaking of how you fit in, Randy after the win said our front end played good all week, and we always say if our front end outplays their front end, we're going to win most games. Over the last 3 years, have you always agreed with that statement?
Yeah, I usually come back and say, well, if our back end outplays the other back end, we usually have a good chance of winning games too. But,
I might say a better chance, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I totally agree with him. Like, it just makes it easier for the next guy. If he's throwing guards instead of double takeouts, it's pretty much common sense. And you know what? Like, I think this year has been over the last 3-4 years one of my better years. So starting to get the confidence back, and just in time for next year for sure.
Hey, speaking of Randy, there's been a lot of talk this year about fitness and all the broadcasts and everything else, but even this past week, Bruce Rainey was talking about Dave and his bulging biceps there, but it seems like Randy might have missed the memo on that. In 2006, he did try a summer program, and he didn't have a great trials run. What should we expect this time around?
You know what? He actually has been doing some off-season training, and I know we're going to sit down over the next month here and kind of go over each other's schedules and, just make sure that we're in the best shape possible going into 2010.
By the way, I think Randy's a great guy. I don't mean to be ripping on him too much, but he doesn't look like the fitness guy that you rest of you are. But maybe does. Maybe he's playing better because he's. Maybe it's the old Ed Wernick thing. Ed in '88 said he.
Just like on TSN Off the Record, he says he's strong up in the head.
Well, Wernick always said that he didn't have his center of gravity changed when he when he was losing weight.
Yeah.
All right, Scott, we end with a run back. I give you a topic. You give me your thoughts in 1 to 3 words.
Sounds good.
This might be more than 1 to 3 words, actually, but Kevin Martin throwing his first rock through in the last end of the Ford World Men's Final.
I'll say he's the best hitter in the world.
How much discussion did that generate last weekend?
Lots. Maybe
Eh?
not in front of him, but everyone was kind of talking about it, and it's more of the casual observer that would come up and ask us, like, what would you have done?
Yeah. You know, I think if there's one guy who it might, I think a lot of guys it might get in their head, but I don't think it will with Kevin for some reason.
No, I mean, he usually goes on to the next game, and he's one of the best players in the world, so I'm sure it won't go down.
I mean, I can't believe, he doesn't think that maybe he should have played something else now, but at the same time, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't seem to dwell on stuff, but anyways.
Yeah.
Sean Grassi, both playing in and reporting from the World Mixed Doubles in Cortina, Italy.
I'm unaware of it.
Yeah, that's what you go to the World Mixed Doubles to get any coverage, you have to write it yourself, apparently. So he's writing
I guess. It'd be a nice trip, though.
Yeah. I mean, you going to play mixed doubles one year?
We'll see. I actually enjoyed playing it at the Continental Cup. It was I played with Deb McCormick, and every time she threw a rock, I would run up and sweep, and every time I threw a rock, I would get up and sweep. So it's really quiet, though, because there's basically no one yelling. So you got an arena of 8 people on the ice and no loud action. So.
Yeah, I mean that's what one of Sean's reports said, that it's sort of quiet out there, and yet at the same time, everybody who plays in the Continental Cup says what you just said, that they enjoy playing it. But you were sweeping all 5 rocks. There's somebody else doing that this week too, I think. But you know what I think they should change in that mixed doubles. Oh, while I'm at it, is I don't know why you shouldn't have to have someone in the rings at the other end.
Yeah.
It'd be a much better game if you could just pick, everybody practices, just throws at a point at the other end. So then you could have a sweeper and more communication right with the thrower.
Or do like you do in the hot shots where you got an official holding the broom for you.
Yeah.
Not like they're calling line for you or anything.
Yeah, and then you got to get another person. But I don't even think it would matter. I mean, everybody throws, throw at edge of the 8, whatever.
Yeah, I'd just make it 4 people.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's another argument, right? Just stick with regular curling. But anyways.
Yeah.
Ted Appleman's rink getting one of the last spots in the pre-trials.
One of the best up-and-coming teams. Not surprised they had a great year.
Yeah, I think they're going to be around for a while. They stuck together, I think. But how about Daly Peters' rink getting another?
I heard Daly's curling with someone else.
I think those are an interesting crew, but crew of guys, and I've talked to them and think they're nice guys, but I don't even know who goes right now on that team.
Well, I think you'd have to have 3 out of 4. So if Daly's not playing, then it'd be the rest of Reed Carruthers' old team and whoever they wanted to skip them.
I guess they could get somebody else, right? Because Daly was playing with his father next year, I think.
Yeah.
So. The curling facility in Vancouver for the 2010 games.
From what I've heard, not overly impressive.
Yeah.
I'll let you know in a couple of weeks. We're actually headed out there for a conference in 2 weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little disappointing, I think. I know BC always has trouble drawing people for curling, but it is the Olympics, and it seems, it's about like a 4,000 or 5,000 seat arena. It's.
I mean, right now all I'm focused on is Rexall Place, and I know that's going to be just a fabulous event.
And that'll, the downside. I guess what's a little odd to me is that one's going to be packed and 17,000 people and exciting. But anyways, and then
what? I could play in front of 2 people at the Olympics and I'd be happy. So.
Would you really?
Sure.
I'm a little more ambivalent about the Olympics, so I don't know. The last Beijing Olympics I wasn't real thrilled about. So. Yeah. Anyways, Marcel's sweat glands.
Still active.
They're productive, eh? Jeez. I tell you what, he's into it, though. I always say, look, he's competing. He's an athlete out there.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. I haven't seen the towel out for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Normally, when you get in real hot buildings, you'll have a towel at each end of the ice.
It's a good thing you weren't in Moncton. That first game sounded like about 80 degrees in the arena.
Yeah. Shirts versus skins.
I don't think anybody wants to see that. Sorry, but Kathy King's lineup shuffles.
Obviously interesting. I didn't really hear a whole lot of the story, but it'll be interesting to see who they come up with as a third next year. Yeah.
And Canada getting shut out from gold at world events so far this year.
You know what? I never even really thought about it until you brought it up, but you know what? The world's improving, so it's not a huge surprise.
Just the way the game goes, right? I mean, we all know you play one weekend, you get one result. You play the next weekend, you get a different one. So, But a lot of, I do sort of get a kick out of the hand wringing that happens in Canada when...
Sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug.
Yeah. Well, Sean Grassie in the mixed doubles is your last shot. So follow his results in the windshield.
I will with interest now.
Yeah, there you go. He's the last shot, brother. All right, Scott, I give everybody a chance to name their sponsors, and I know you guys have plenty, so let me know who they are.
Yeah, a huge thanks to World Financial Group, Prism Flow Products, JVC, and Continental Stress.
All right, Scott, great job this weekend. Good to see you guys back, and good luck next year and at the Tim Hortons Roar of the Rings.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Look forward to seeing you there.
That's Scott Pfeifer on The Curling Show. First, an apology for an error at the very end of that interview that was entirely my own. Canada has, in fact, captured a WCF title this season at the World Wheelchair Curling Championships. It was an honest mistake, and I did not intend to diminish the results from Vancouver in any way. Before I go, remember to consider joining the Curling Show group on Facebook. And if you like this podcast, or you just don't hate it and force yourself to listen to it from time to time, consider making a donation at thecurlingshow.com. As always, thanks for listening. Here's Black Pudding.